Hello everyone, and welcome to the 46th Cocoa programming tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be covering how we can use NSSplitView in Cocoa. So NSSplitView is probably one of the most important or most commonly used Cocoa components. I'd probably say that for everything, but once you start making complex applications that have multiple views, NSSplitView is probably your choice for dividing those up. So how does it work? Well, think of any application, well, not any application, but lots of applications that you use, such as Mail, iPhoto, Xcode. All these applications actually contain NSSplitViews, and Xcode is particularly full of NSSplitViews. So let's just kind of look at Xcode here, and I'll kind of let you know what a split view actually is. So looking across Xcode here, we've got sort of this left view, right? We've got the navigator pane, we've got this kind of centerpiece, or the center view, then we got this right view, which is all the other stuff that we change depending on what we're using. So what does that all have to do with NSSplitView? Well, these are all separate views that are contained inside of an NSSplitView. NSSplitView is basically, as the name would suggest, it is splitting multiple views up. So anytime you see these sort of divider pattern things where you got a view, and then you got this divider, and then you got another view, more than likely that is an NSSplitView. So what are the advantages of split views? Well, like I was just saying, you can move views, which as you probably know, is quite useful when you are trying to see different text in the navigator pane. You can also move this, and just to look at what you can do, if I stretch this out to a point, you'll notice that it doesn't actually move anymore. There's a point that this view says, no, you're not going to go any larger, or this view is not going to go any smaller, and basically we're going to stop. So you can control this with NSTextView or NSSplitView. We can, as we compress it, you'll notice that it actually hits a point where it stops as well. That means that, hey, you shouldn't go any smaller or larger, depending on what view you're looking at, than this, because that will, start messing things up. So you'll also notice, though, that if I move this past the halfway point, this view actually collapses. So if I toggle back and forth between the halfway mark, this view will collapse. And that is also another feature of NSSplitView. Another feature that you might not even know exists, and I doubt many people do, is the ability to double click on the divider to collapse. So if I double click on the divider of a split view, it might actually collapse it. This is an optional feature depending on the programmer, but you can actually double click to collapse a split view, or one of the views in the split view. All right, so that's kind of what we're going to cover, basically just the basics. That's what split views sort of are. Just to give you an idea of how many split views are actually in Xcode, you might even notice that this thing right here is a potential split view. I don't really know if it is. It might be some kind of custom made thing, I'm not really sure. But nonetheless, that could be a potential split view. This is probably also a split view. This pop-up thing right here, we've got, we can collapse it like that. So there's probably multiple split views in Xcode as well. And when you can have multiple editors and stuff, again, just NSSplitView, that is basically what it does. It's for dividing up multiple views. So let's go ahead and start creating one of our own. So we'll just type in split, and we can see that there's a vertical or horizontal one. We're going to use the vertical one for this tutorial, and we're going to make sort of a similar Xcode-like split view with the 3 separate panes. So as you might notice with our split view selected, in our attributes inspector, there really aren't that many options for what we can do. We have the option to change the style of the divider itself. So we can say this is going to be a thin divider, which makes it like the Xcode ones. This is a thin divider. We can make it a thick divider, which looks almost the same as the pane splitter. I think they're just sort of different colors or whatever, gradients or whatever, different style of splitter, but they're basically the same thing. You can also even customize this by subclassing NSSplitView as well. That is, if you really want to. I can make a tutorial on that if you really want. Just leave it in the comments below. All right, so now with that is basically all the options we get for the split view. So you might be wondering, okay, that's cool, but how do we add more views? So to do this, let's say we're going to create an application that has 3 text views. So the 3 views that we're going to use are text views. Now, you just basically want to find the component you want to use. We're going to drag out this text view. And if you drag it to the center divider line like this, it will actually insert it like that. So it's kind of nice. We just have to drag out 3 text views like this. And drag out another one like so. And then we can just select the custom views, hit the delete key, and there we go. Now we have 3 separate NS text views inside of one NSSplitView. And that's all we really had to do to set this up. Now, if I want to edit some of the text in these things, I could change that in the attributes inspector by selecting a bunch of times on the text view. And set that to Yoda. And we'll set this to be something else. And there we go. So the reason I'm leaving this one blank, I'm going to show you how we can programmatically access this text view, because that's an important understanding of NSTextView is actually, NSSplitView is how to actually access its components. So I'll show you that, how you can do that in code. All right, so let's pull up our assistant editor here, and we will quickly add this split view to our app delegate. So we'll just control drag out, and we will call this split view. And I'm not creating a separate app controller for this. This is just simple enough to just put in an app delegate. Of course, if you're creating this in a separate window, you might want to make a window controller and the like. Just make sure you're doing the appropriate thing depending on the case. But this is very simple, so I'm just leaving it in my app delegate. All right, so now that we have our split view here, let's go ahead and get coding. So we'll go back to our normal editing mode here. Flip over to appdelegate.h for just a second and just take a peek again. We have our split view like this, and that is the property that we're going to be using. So we can flip over to appdelegate.m, or this is our source file, and we're going to go ahead and try to change the text on that first text view. So actually, the easiest way to kind of visualize how this works is if you open up this little docs section over here, and if you take a look at the hierarchy of different things that we have, I think that's the easiest way to actually figure out how to access different components of the split view. So on this level here, we have our split view, right? So to get that, we can just say self.splitView because we have the property for that. And then if I want to get this scroll view of this first panel, I have to ask for the split view's different subviews. So NSView, the class NSView, has a subviews method which returns all the subviews associated with that view, which a subview is just a view within a view. So this scroll view right here, or this text view, whatever you want to think of it as, is a subview of the split view, right? We have a scroll view within a split view, so the scroll view is a subview of the split view. And so to get this scroll view, we have to ask the split view for a subview, or its subviews. And to access this, there is a method called subviews in NSView. It will return for us an NS array of all of the subviews contained within that view. So if I ask the split view for its subviews, I'll get an array of all these different views. And then I can just access the specific index that I want for whatever view I'm trying to access. So that was kind of a long-winded explanation, but I think it'll make more sense when I just get writing this in code. So let's say I want to, I'll create a temporary, or just a variable here for the text view that I'm trying to access. So let's say I want to change the text on the left text view. So I'll just call it left text view. If I want to get this text, I just have to say self.splitView. I have to get the subviews of the split view, so I'll just call the subviews method again. That method will return an NS array of all of the subviews contained within my split view, or any NS view for that matter. Now, this is returned in order from left to right or top to bottom. So if I want to get the furthest item left on the left side, my left text view, I really want to get the zeroth index of this array, right? Because subviews will return an NS array, so I want to get object at index, and I will get the object at index 0, like so. All right, so now that I have that, I will now be getting whatever is at index 0, which will be my left view. Now, the only issue with this is that we have to think kind of how this, the hierarchy works with this. If I have my split view and I ask for the subviews and I get the object at index 0, that is getting the left view, but that is specifically an NS scroll view because NS text view is embedded inside of an NS scroll view. So this call right here will get me the NS scroll view, but if I want to get the text view that's in the NS scroll view, I can actually ask the NS scroll view for its document view. I know this is really confusing, the layers that I'm creating here, but hopefully you're understanding what the heck I'm saying. So this basically, I'm just going to go through this one more time to clear up any confusions. We're asking the split view, which is the big thing that splits everything up, for all of its subviews. This will get us an NS array of all the different views. And I want the one on the furthest left side, which is the object at index 0. The one in the middle would be 1. The one on the right would be object at index 2. This call altogether will get me the NS scroll view, right? Because NS text view is actually embedded in an NS scroll view. So when I drag out an NS text view, I actually have an NS scroll view as well. So to ask the NS scroll view for that text field, the text view, then I can actually call the document view method of the NS scroll view, and that will get me the NS text view. I know that was the probably longest winded explanation, but it can kind of get confusing with all the views that we have. All right, so now that I have my left text view, all I want to do is change the text on it. So I can say left text view, set text, set string, and I just want to change the string to be something else. So this is programmatic text. There we go. And I can run this now. And hopefully all my long-winded explanation actually made sense. And there we go. As we can see in our application, we got this is programmatic text. And we can move these around. You can see that, it kind of does the weird text squishy thing. And you can change that in the interface builder if you want, or the editor. But as you can see, we can collapse these any which way we want. So what if we want to set some constraints on this? What if we don't actually want this to be able to collapse like this, and we want to make it stop like there or something? How can we do that? Well, NSSplitView by default really isn't that powerful. There aren't really many methods in NSSplitView, but like many Cocoa components, there are lots of delegate methods. So to control an NSSplitView, you are going to want to use a lot of the methods from the NSSplitViewDelegate. NSSplitViewDelegate, if we take a little gander at this, open up our reference, you can see that there are a fair amount of methods, and these will help you control a lot of the things that we want to do. So the methods that we're going to be looking at are, let me see which ones I want. I want the this one right here, which will constrain where the split can actually, it'll basically control the size of what the view can become. So constrain max coordinate of subview at, basically this will control the maximum size that I can move a specific divider. This one will control the specific minimum coordinate that I can use to actually move the divider. So these are all delegate methods that will be called when I'm moving my the different dividers around. So as I move a divider, we're going to be sending these delegate, or the split view is going to be asking for these different delegate calls, and then it will figure out from there what it's going to be able to do. Now, the other ones I'm going to do is, this method here, which is can collapse subview. That method will allow us to collapse the subviews like I was showing you in Xcode before. It's this feature where if I drag it out like this and then go halfway, it'll collapse. That's the collapsing feature. If I implement this method, as it might suggest, this one is the one that allows you to double click on a divider and it will collapse it. So that is another method that we're going to want to implement as well. All right, so let's get started here. We'll flip back over to our source file, and we will start implementing some delegate methods. So let's start with, which one do we want to start with? We'll start with the constraint min coordinate, I guess. So this is a fairly long-winded delegate method, as most of them usually are, but it's very descriptive on what it's going to do. So when we're moving around a split or a divider on the split view, we're going to be getting some information back. And basically the split view is going to be sending this call every time we're moving the split or the divider. So this method is going to tell us the split view that's moving around. It's going to give us the proposed minimum position, which is the absolute minimum distance that this divider could be moved. So if I quickly just open up my application again, basically, if I was to look at this divider right here, this would be divider 0. This would be divider 1. If I was looking at divider 0, think of the minimum possible position this can go. Basically, it's all the way to the left, right? It's at position 0. So that would be the proposed minimum position by default. So this would be the proposed minimum. The maximum is all the way up to this one. So if I was getting this delegate method sent to me on the maximum proposed position, basically what that means is that the maximum that this divider can possibly go is as far as this divider. So that would be this proposed position that is sent to us on these methods. All right. So I'll show you once we actually implement one of these how this can work. So like I was saying, the split view is sent to us, the constrained minimum coordinate. This is, like I was saying, that proposed position that this, this divider can actually move. And then it also tells me the divider index. So this is useful to know which divider we're actually talking about. Like I was saying, the divider on the left is the 0th one, and then the one on the right of it would be divider at index 1. It always works from left to right, basically. So as I add more dividers, it starts at 0 and goes to however many number of dividers I have. So with this, all I have to return is the position that it can move to. So let's say I want to only allow this to go up to 100 pixels of the proposed position, right? I want to leave at least 100 pixel gap or 100 point gap for this specific divider. So what I can do for this is simply return the proposed minimum position plus 100. So basically, whatever the proposed minimum is, which is somewhere to the left, right? If I move my divider at index 0 all the way to the left, that would be the proposed minimum index position would be 0. But if I want to keep it further than 100 pixels out, I just have to add 100 to that. So what this means now is we can go ahead, and I actually have to set up the delegate, which I haven't done. But basically, when I go to run this, it will only allow me to move the divider up to 100 pixels before it's going to stop me. So if I look at, I got to set up just something quickly in my NSSplitView here. I never set up a delegate. So if I right click on the split view, you'll notice that there under outlets is a delegate outlet. If I drag this over to my app delegate, that will make my app delegate the delegate for my split view. So then, of course, all the delegate methods will be sent to my app delegate, which is what I want because that's where I'm implementing all these methods. So if I go ahead and run this now, and I wait for it to compile, and then I drag this out, you'll notice that once I get to this position 100 pixels from the proposed, right? The proposed position would be 0, but I said plus 100, so it's not going to let me go any further. Same for this divider right here. Once I get up to 100 pixels of the proposed position, which would be right here, then it's going to stop me, right? I can't move any further. Now, the maximum position, on the other hand, isn't really going to work the same way because, and as you can see, we have issues now. So we gotta be careful with that. But basically, we got some problems here if we're going to move it all the way over there. But I'll show you how to fix that in just a bit. So let's go ahead and quit out of this. And we're going to implement the other delegate method, which is the maximum position one. So we're going to go ahead and implement this method. And This method works basically the same way, except it'll be for the maximum position. So whatever the position on the right side of any divider is, that will be the proposed maximum position. So for this, let's just say that I don't want to go any further than, I don't know, let's say up to 150 pixels. Or let's just keep it at the same. We'll just say 100 pixels. So we want the proposed maximum position, which is passed to us, minus 100, right? Because the proposed maximum position is all the way to the right. That is whatever the distance is on the right. So I want to be 100 less of that furthest position. So if I go ahead and run this, you can see that as I move this out all the way to the right, it won't let me move any further. And that's good. If I move this one, I can't move any further. That's good as well. And now I'm stuck in the middle with this one, right? Because the minimum position is met and the maximum position is met. So that's that. And as you can see, we can move these along and all works as expected. So that's cool. Now that is how you can set minimum positions for the dividers. Now the other methods that I want to show you are the collapsing ones. So if I want to allow my subview or my split view, I always say subview or something other view, but I want my split view, right? I want to say that if my, I want to first say whether my split view can collapse a particular subview, okay? So to figure out this, basically you just have to, well, this method is pretty self-explanatory. It passes in the split view, right? Basically this whatever split view we're working with, and it tells you what subview it wants to collapse. So you have to think a little bit about this, what subviews you want to be able to collapse. So I only really want to be able to collapse the left subview and the right subview, right? I don't want that center subview to be able to collapse. It works the same way as Xcode does with its subviews. I only want this one to be able to collapse, and I don't want the center one to collapse, right? I don't want this center view to be able to go out of the way, because this is the important one. But sometimes I want this one to collapse. So how we want to implement this method, right, is we want to figure out specifically which subviews we are trying to collapse. So that's what this will be sending us. This delegate method is saying, hey, we want to try to collapse this particular subview. Will you let me? Okay, so we just have to return yes if we want to, no if we don't. And so this is pretty easy. All we have to say is we just have to figure out what the left subview is and the right subview. So we can say NSView left gets, we could say split view and subviews. And what we want to do is get object at index 0. And if I want to get the right one, I just have to say, oops, right gets split view. And I want to use subviews, object at index. You could be smart about this if you really want to make a good delegate. You could count the number of split views that you actually have. So, you know, if we had more than 3, you don't actually want it to be the second index because it could be the third or the fourth or the fifth, right? So a smart way to do this is actually figure out the number of subviews you have and then take the count and subtract that by 1, and that will tell you the furthest view on the right. But for this tutorial, I know that there are only going to be 3 views. So I'm just going to leave it at object at index 2. So now that we have our 2 views, let me just create a little more space here so you can actually read some of this stuff. Now that I have my 2 views, I just want to figure out if the subview it's asking me to collapse is either the left or the right view. So I can say subview is equal, and is it equal to the left one, or is it equal to the right one? If it's equal to either of those, then I want to basically say, yeah, go ahead and collapse it, right? I will let you collapse these subviews. And otherwise, I will just return no. If it's the left or the right, that means I want those to collapse. If it's anything else, basically if it's the center one, I don't want it to collapse. So I'm going to say return no. And if we go ahead and run this, we can see how this behaves. So as I drag this to the 100 mark, you can see it stops me, but once I pass the midway point, that divider goes to the side. Now, to actually hide the divider, that's more work that I'm not going to go into for this tutorial. But like I said, if you really want more information on split views, you can ask me to do another tutorial on this. But anyway, as you can see, once we hit that maximum position, then we basically this method is called, right? This can we collapse this particular split view? This is the right one, so yeah, we can collapse it, and that's what we return. Unlike the other ones, though, we can't collapse the center one, right? Because we specifically only allow it to collapse the left or the right view. All right, the last one we want to do is that fun little double click one that I showed you. So this is split view. Where is that method? That one right there. If this one's called, this is just asking me, should I collapse a subview for double click on divider at index? And this one is kind of neat because we can just say return true for this one, and or return yes, I should say. We can return yes for this. We don't actually have to pay attention to which one it is because we only have 3 split views. And so to, I don't know, it's just smart with the way it collapses views. It'll collapse them to both sides. And anyway, that's, I'll show you how this works. So we'll go ahead and run this. And if I double click on this, it'll collapse it to the left. And if I double click on this, it'll collapse it to the right. So it basically already knows how to do that. You don't really have to worry about it. I think though, if you have more than 3 subviews, then you're going to want to figure out which divider indexes you really want to collapse. And this is really easy. You can just look at the divider index and figure out if you want to be able to collapse it or not. So anyway, that is basically all I really wanted to show you for this specific tutorial. Just basically talks about how we can use NSSplitViews, what they do, how you can programmatically access different components of the split view like this. I talked about the different delegate methods that we can use, and how you can collapse and set minimum maximum sizes for the views as well. And you can customize these really as much as you want because you have the divider index. You know which divider we're looking at. So you could really say, I don't want this one to go any further than this, but I can allow the divider index at 2 or 1 to do whatever it wants, right? So you have tons of flexibility with these delegate methods. Feel free to play around with them. If you have any other questions about NSSplitView, if you want another tutorial on some of the more advanced features, not advanced, but different ones like maybe programmatically collapsing and animating that that transition there, I can do a tutorial on that as well. But anyway, leave your comments or questions in the comments below, and I will see you in another upcoming Cocoa tutorial.